Tell us, has there been any?
Yeah, it's still going too. Still going.
It's still happening. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's still happening. So there's been, we have on the heliosphere, it just hit the heliospheres building up in power. The last one did not build up in power, nor was it stringy. Like this one is stringy because it wasn't one concentrated, force coming in at one horizontal or vertical line. This one is like all over the place. Now, given the instabilities of the sun right now and the earth, who knows what this thing will cause, but something will take place within the next 72 hours again. Sometime in that time frame, we'll certainly see some sort of effect. But I have there's a worry that I have right now.
Okay.
A worry. And the worry has to do with these reports that are coming out concerning the core of the earth.
Okay.
The question is not why did now it's the inner core they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Part of the cover story, or let's just say some of the scientists out there will say, well, that happens every 70 years. 70 years. Now, just think about this. Why in the world would anybody ever make that public? Number one.
Yeah.
Why would the number happen to be 70 years? Number two, right? Every 70 years. When that just dispels. You're talking about years of research. And for example, because I'm very familiar with this, some of the people who study the earth and its inner mechanisms, they understand that in the Pittsburgh Supercomputing Center, Los Alamos National Laboratory, they had a set of confirmed modeling data that came back for 300,000 years, demonstrating some of the fluid dynamics of the interior of the earth. And they know that the inner core changing direction starts a very destructive process. And by the way, it wasn't every 70 years. It was every 36,000 years, or at minimal 10,000 years, that the inner core would reverse, not every 70 years.
What?
Every 70 years does not work. The math doesn't work. Nothing works. If the Earth's inner rotation reverses every 70 years, that's crazy. Because even right now, the rotation of that internal core, right? Even in fluid dynamics or thermal dynamics, only on rare occasions in thermal dynamics do fluid motions and magnetic fields evolve in a compatible manner to allow original field to diffuse and completely out of the inner core. So that would form a new dipole. The polarity would change. Diffusion would happen to establish a reversed magnetic field. And you know what that means? The surface of the Earth would become highly unstable. So how can that be?
Right. So in other words, you're saying
the inner core
can't do it every 70 years.
No. The inner core, right? Its momentum, the momentum of the inner core,
right,
is a very important mechanism in what happens to the surface of the planet. And if they're reporting, what they're picking up are echoes that have obviously changed their eastern trajectory to a western trajectory, right? Which means if that is the case, we're going to have a problem in the upper crust in less than, 40 days?
What?
It's not going to be good. That's less than 40 days. You're talking about, because the modeling data is very consistent. It's very predictive, right? Very predictive. And the liquid zones that extend from a depth of 2,900 kilometers to a depth of about 5,100 kilometers, right? They produce currents. And those currents are flowing liquid caused by the differences of temperature. That's why it moves in the first place. A difference of temperatures. Keep that in mind. So it's real hot in the middle, right? Yep. Real cool at the top. That difference in temperature causes a flow of electrons, which can be measured all the time. What that means is if the interior stops like that, we're going to have temperature fluctuations on the top of the Earth like nobody's ever seen. And by the way, the last time the Earth did this was during the Ice Age.
No, and I'm like, okay, so in other words, a timeout. We got these scientists telling us that this happens every 70 years, but it's no big deal. There's no catastrophe that could be caused from this. So don't worry about it. You're saying no, that's insanity.
I don't believe that.
Don't believe a word of that.
Don't believe that.
Okay,
I do not. I know the sun reverses. Magnetic field reverses in the sun every 11 years.
Yes, right? That's solar.
And the time between that time between reversals on the Earth is at least 10,000 years. Sometimes as long as 25 million years. Now, this is based on the strata and the evidence from the strata, the dipoles and the rocks, or the magnetic, the north and south poles of rocks that are become magnets and so forth, right? So we know that's because every time it changes, it's going to have some type of effect. And it takes 500 years, right, for those magnetic field lines to realign and for stability to come back in again. So it's not like an instant recovery. And what this means to me is this. If they're reporting this, somebody did that on purpose. Forget about the rest of the story. Somebody did that on purpose. Somebody actually cares is what's happening.
It was CNN.
Because to report something like that is dramatic. That is very dramatic.
It's CNN. It's this guy right here. I'm going to see if I can give you his name. CNN put him on.
That's Meteor. He's an interpreter. So he probably didn't come up with the data at all. I guarantee he didn't come up with the data. He probably tried to explain that data.
Okay.
I doubt if he came up with it.
Okay.
But that's the situation. Nobody can just come out and say, hey, the Earth's core stopped.
Okay.
Really. You don't say that. There are other components involved.
Okay.
And you have some of the most expensive supercomputers and quantum computers in the world that will not validate a 70-year rotation differential in the Earth. You can't do that.
Can't do that. So
that
what we're
doesn't
hearing,
work.
so what you're hearing from Mike around the world tonight is there's no way that every 70 years that the core of the Earth stops. But yes, the core of the Earth can stop, and when it does, it has to affect the temperature of the Earth, the crustal placement. I mean, are you talking crustal displacement on the surface? We
are. They will admit they do not know the mechanism of why the continents are constantly have those upheavals or spreading apart. Yeah. Right? Everything is connected. They really don't spread apart. That's not what's happening. The rock is being recycled, right? As parts of the land go up, the other parts go down. So, but just imagine this. When you stop that armature or the core of the Earth, you're going to have chaotic field lines of force inside the Earth. You know what that means?
No.
That means, and they're trying to tell everybody that the outer core, that molten outer core is not connected with the inner core.
Yeah.
That is hogwash because all of it's one dynamic system. It's a dynamic system, not static, it's dynamic.
Okay.
And one component will always affect the other. So some of the weather changes that we have been experiencing in the oceans are directly related to the instabilities in the core of the Earth. And when I was talking about a reversal, I meant a reversal of the Earth's rotation, period.
Yeah,
right?
You're not talking about you weren't talking about the core. You're talking about a reversal of the spinning of the
entire Earth.
No.
There you go. The entire Earth. Because what you're dealing with motion, right?
Yeah.
That force of motion has to go somewhere. And they already know through modeling how that happens, right? They've seen it on Venus. They've seen it on Saturn. It's been proven over and over and over again.
So, Mike, what
it's going to happen here too.
Is that this event is not just a blip on the screen. This is a development that's going to... Is this when Isaiah said the Earth's going to reel and rock like a drunkard? Is it caused by this kind of activity?
Well, according to the modeling data, and the modeling data has been accurate again, when they did the modeling data, right, when they ran the parallel on the supercomputers at Pittsburgh, the Supercomputing Center, and Los Alamos National Laboratory, they did a 300,000 year simulation that went all the way up to 300,000 years. It has been refined, worked on in the weather phenomena. Why does it match the modeling starting? Now, they did this modeling starting in 1995. Why does the weather phenomena match what it was on the computer simulations? Why? Because they did a very accurate. They had very accurate results from this modeling data. And it continues to overlap with current conditions that we have, right? So here we are right now. We're about to go through a very unstable time. But that's not all. If the core of the earth stops, it's not that the earth doesn't do that itself. That comes from an external force. So we're going to have other objects around us, around this solar system, around the galaxy, also following suit. So it's just not the earth. You're going to have other things happening also. And do you know what's starting to cut up? It's an indicator. I don't really see it as a worry. I know it's contrary to everybody else, but beetle guys. Right? There's been an issue with beetle guys. Now we know beetle guys, what we're seeing in beetle guys is, 1,000 years old, right? What we're seeing of that, it could be totally blown right now. But beetle guys is an indicator for optical reasons because it allows us to go ahead and get some very good information of objects in between. Right? And objects in between beetle guys in this solar system are now starting to do a wicked shimmy, as I would say. Our sun is going to be an absolute indicator of instabilities if this is caused by an external force or not. They're always going to have a cover story, right? A whole city could be, if a whole city was destroyed by a comet, they would come on the news and say, no big deal. This has happened before. Just everybody get used to it. That's what they would say. They're always going to have a cover story, but we have a problem. We have instabilities in the cosmos, right? And someone has volunteered. Someone pushed out this information, and I guarantee there's a penalty involved. They're not going to be celebrated as some, these scientists, so and so. Right. The names will change. If you get a chance, pull the original article and just keep a copy and watch it change over time.
I got it.
Because if most people who keep records, some of the articles from 2007 to this very date have been altered, changed, or you just won't find them anymore. They're not kept in an archive, especially dealing with the Earth's rotation. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find any data that matches what they used to print about the core of the Earth. Right now, you'd be hard-pressed to find that.
So in other words, as more information comes available, and more calculations, more modeling, then they look like idiots if they don't go back and rewrite history, and partly, or do they also take down articles to hide the truth, take the truth away? The
whole thing is they do not want the public, right?
Right.
If something were to ever happen that would involve a massive death, you can forget hearing about the true story. If they cannot control it, they won't publicize it. They have to be able to control it. It's kind of like the Ukraine-Russian war, right?
Okay.
They can control the information flow coming from Russia. They know that. They can control that. So they can say anything they want to say.
Right.
They'll always report on that. It's not panning out. Here's something that doesn't pan out, for example. You always hear about Ukraine and how well they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Against Russia. So if they're doing so well, why do they need our tanks? Why do they need everybody's tanks? Why do they need all these missiles? If they're doing so well with what they have, why do they have to have all that equipment against somebody, they said, whose army is broken down? See, that exposes a big lie, right?
Right.
Because
sure
if Putin's army was no good, if he was just stressed out, and all his people turned against him, they would not need new tanks.
No.
So that they kind of, if you look beyond the propaganda into the elements of the story, not the story, the elements of the story, you can catch them every single time.
Yeah.
It's almost like they can't help it.
So
they have to step on their own toes.
Is there a provoking? I mean, look, I don't like what. You told us back in 2014 when he first got in there, took Crimea, you said, look, he's never going to leave. He will eventually take Ukraine. You were right. He didn't leave. And here he is invading 8 years later. I don't like a lot of stuff he did. But let me ask you a question. Is he being provoked right now by the West? I mean, are we?
He's in the way. He's in the way.
He's in the way.
Explain. What they're doing right now, Pascal, they're going to force a brand new lifestyle upon everybody. And Putin is in the way.
Oh, wow.
Putin does not speak the language of everybody else. So he's just
So the globalists. So in other words, he's in the way of the globalist move of a new world order.
Sure he is. That's why you see everything prevailing against him, right? Which is not going to fare well for them. It's not going to fare well. You know about Iran, right?
Tell me. What about Iran?
Iran People in Germany are dying. They're being killed by Iranian groups right now, and those numbers are about to explode. The numbers of it's been a large number of people who have been basically, you could say, beheaded, assassinated, killed. This is by Iranian groups. They're building up in volume. Europe has a big problem, and because Russia and Iran, you cannot separate the two. You cannot separate Russia from Iran.
No.
And so what we have here, we have a difference of alignments, which is taking place. Among evil people, two evil groups, there's going to be a big war. And the Vatican's going to have to be the broker of that war. He's going to have to deal with the fallout. But what we see happening is a true buildup in the Middle East, a true buildup against all those NATO-aligned nations. That's happening right now. And the citizens are paying the price.
Israel
is already invaded.
Yeah,
that's why Benjamin Netanyahu, right? He's being pushed into a corner. He's trying desperately to have people see what's actually happening. The true story in Israel is that there are elements in Israel that should not be in that land. And it will take God himself to purge that place of those. They're embedded like ticks, and they're constantly in agreement with Arabs. They're constantly in agreement with those individuals that will go against Israel, right?
Yes.
And they do this because they say that Israel is the troubling component of the entirety of the Middle East and world peace. And the only way to get rid of the problem in the Middle East is to disband Jerusalem, specifically Jerusalem.
Right.
And so you have a lot of contention, unspoken contention, but behind closed doors and in big meetings, Jerusalem is a topic every single day. Every single day.
It's the most talked about city in the world. It's the most.
Yes, it is.
It's the most contentious city. It's because it's spiritual. I mean, we're talking. It's the holy city of God.
That's right.
And the battle is really supernatural. It's spiritual. It's a battle between Michael and Lucifer and 2/3 angels against a third, and we're kind of in the middle of this. The Bible in the book of Zechariah, chapter 12, says that Jerusalem will become this cup of trembling.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, कैसे हैं आप लोग। ये दृश्य है टर्की के। टर्की में अर्थक्वेक के आने से थोड़ा ही पहले यहाँ पे चिड़ियों की इस प्रकार की मूवमेंट देखी गई। एकदम ही इररेटिक मूवमेंट ये आपको नजर आ रही है। और इस बात को लेके फिर से ये बहस शुरू हो गई कि क्या जानवर, चिड़ियाएं हो गए, सांप हो गए, कुत्ते बिल्लियां हो गई, क्या ये प्रेडिक्ट कर सकते हैं अर्थक्वेक को। और इस बात के साक्ष्य बहुत पहले से मिले हैं। 373 बीसी में ग्रीस में अर्थक्वेक आने से पहले रैट्स, स्नेक, सेंटीपीडल्स अपने घरों से निकल के ओवरऑल साइडलाइन होने लगे, थोड़ी सेफ्टी की तरफ भागने लगे। बाद में अर्थक्वेक आया। इनफैक्ट चाइना में तो एक बार हजारों लोगों की जान बच गई थी। चाइना के हाइचिंग शहर में 1975 में अर्थक्वेक आने से पहले कुत्तों की अनयूजुअल मूवमेंट को देख के ऑफिशियल्स ने 90,000 रेजिडेंट्स को सिटी से बाहर निकाल दिया। कुछ घंटे बाद ही एक डेडली अर्थक्वेक आया और हजारों लोगों की जानें बच गई। बट अभी तक हमारे पास इस बात का कोई साइंटिफिक एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं है कि कैसे इन जानवरों को अर्थक्वेक के बारे में एडवांस में पता चलता है।
Fire crews are on the ground in Turkey to help with search and rescue efforts in the aftermath of that deadly and destructive earthquake. The LA team includes 81 people, 6 canine teams, and 3 structural engineers. And that extra help couldn't come soon enough. Today, the death toll has surpassed 11,000 as crews frantically dig through the rubble. A moment of triumph amid the tragedy. Crews in northern Syria pulling a child from a collapsed building. Authorities call the first 3 days after an earthquake the golden period when the chances are greatest of finding survivors. But with each passing hour, conditions are becoming more difficult, and those rescued are in need of food, water, and medical assistance.
We've got a lot of people who have survived now out in the open. We are in real danger of seeing a secondary disaster which may cause harm to more people than the initial disaster.
The WHO is providing medical supplies and surgical kits to Turkey and Syria.
It's a mystery to me. We have agreed with which we have agreed. And you think you have to want more than you need. Until you have it all, you won't be free. Society, you're a crazy breed. I hope you're not lonely without me. When you want more than you have, you think you need. And when you think more than you want, your thoughts begin to bleed. I think I need to find a bigger place. 'Cause when you have more than you think, you need more space. Society, you're a crazy breed. I hope you're not lonely without me. Society, crazy indeed. I hope you're not lonely without me. There's those thinking more, less is more. But if less is more, how you keeping score? It means for every point you make, your level drops. Kinda like you're starting from the top, and you can't do that. Society, you're a crazy breed. I hope you're not lonely without me. Society, crazy indeed.
How about a live look outside, our view 11 showing a mostly cloudy sky outside. We're dry though here in downtown Little Rock. Did something happen last night that you missed? I want to show you something. This is around 7 o'clock last night. Whoa, what is that? A bright ball of fire darting the night sky. Hundreds of Arkansans seeing this really bright meteor. This one captured on Tony Haycook's Ring doorbell system looking off towards the sky. Most folks reported seeing it as a very bright green color, likely a result of some nickel in that bright meteor. Pretty neat. Whoa, what is that? A bright ball of fire darting the night sky. Hundreds of Arkansans seen this really bright meteor. This one captured on Tony Haycoup's Ring doorbell system looking off towards the sky. Most folks reported seeing it as a very bright green color, likely a result of some nickel in that bright meteor. Pretty neat.
Світанні сонце й дим, мало хто знає, що ж буде з ним, що буде завтра. Юних думках когось надія, а в когось страх. Гілля хале похилилося, мама, кому ж не молилися, скільки ще забере вона твоїх дітей, не твоя війна. Стали батьками доньки й сини, все кольорові, бачу сни і цілували руки брехні за тихі ночі віддали дні. Гілля хале похилилося, мама, кому ж не молилися, скільки ще забере вона твоїх дітей, не твоя війна. Добре, там і колись, там, де без поту, і там, де без сліз, тільки не було в тому мети. Я так не можу, а як зможеш ти? Гілля калин похилилося, мама, не тим ми молилися, скільки іще забере вона твоїх дітей, не твоя війна. Гілля калин похилилося, мама, кому
I hear a thunder? Did I hear you break? I can't quite remember just what guided me this way. Oh, stand unshaken. Mr. Crash of the World. Mr. Crash of the World. May I stand unshaken amid Mr. Crash of the World. The pines, they often whisper. They whisper what no tongue can tell. From the deep water, may he know the depths of the well. May I stand unshaken amid Mr. Crash of the World. May I stand unshaken amid Mr. Crash of the World. Oh, traveler, what have you seen? Where there crossroads? Where you been? Where you been? I once was standing tall. Now I feel my backs against the wall. Stand unshaken amid the crash of the world. May I stand unshaken amid the crash of the world. To me, you once did, but I could not see. And I don't wonder, as a wayward son, will the horse be haunted by the smoking gun? Oh, stand unshaken, amidst the crash of the world. Stand unshaken amidst the crash of the world. Stand unshaken amidst the crash of the world. Stand unshaken amid this crash of the world. May I stand unshaken amid the crash of the world. May I stand unshaken